Let's get it, let's get it, let's get it. Young Thug trial, day 75. Yes, sir.
Theory that is not based in fact and it should not come into this courtroom. I'm moving for a mistrial. I have no idea why this gentleman got to say it. We're presuming this. He has no right to say that. He pledged.
Does the preamble say YSL?
Preamble?
Does the preamble answer my question, please?
Sure, the preamble does, but
okay,
all
right.
Day 75 of the Young Thug YSL Rico trial was interesting. Detective Raissi testifies to the Lil Wayne bus shooting. Thug's lawyer then goes on a huge rant saying this trial was unfair and moves for a mistrial. Ryan steals a mic drop moment at the end of this video. I'm not at my normal setup, so sorry about that, but hit subscribe. First look at Thug on day 75 in this nice red suit, eating, with his dreads down, looking snazzy. I'm at my mom's house, that's why the setup looks different, but I'm going to try my best. Across the country, let's go. Ryan Steele's objecting to the cell phone records coming in, and the state needs a cell phone data expert for them to be able to introduce this evidence. I think it's Detective Raissi, they want to introduce it, but it's not, he's saying it's not good enough. They need a real expert, like in the Melly trial.
I'm going to use Agent Bernie's information through Detective Raissi, or Agent Raissi now, and have him testify to location data, and then come in later, I guess, over objection, and now try to bolster that testimony or make it cumulative. And I'm not so sure that Agent Bernie even did this analysis that Detective, in fact, we were never given it, that Detective Raissi is talking about. So it is really fresh testimony, that's expert testimony. I would object.
It looks like the mapping of cell phone calls doesn't require expert testimony. Testimony concerning cell phone records, abbreviations, locations of the defendant based on a map of cell phone power locations doesn't require expert testimony. But it does say that Henderson distinguishes between expert testimony about how cell towers operate, which would require expert testimony.
The how is why they would need an expert. So the judge is going to let it in. He doesn't give a shit, like always.
I said, make your objection, so I'd like to object. Now,
yeah, I'll give you a continued objection.
So they added an additional 5 jail calls as announced. I'm objecting to the late notice of all 5.
Now he's objecting to jail calls of PEWEE ROSCOE, the guy that got convicted of the Lil Wayne bus shooting. I'm sure the state is trying to connect Thug to this. They're going to be connecting phone numbers that PEWEE called people in the day of the shooting and shit, so you'll see this soon. If I'm on my phone, I'm looking at information about the trial.
The court said that you already ruled on admissibility. I'm still objecting to the non-testifying people there.
I'm going to overrule your objection. I'll notice a continued objection.
Still has a continuing objection over these jail calls, but he's going to let him in anyway. Detective Raissi about to be on the stand now.
I'm currently employed at the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. About 4 years now. June 2020 is when I joined the agency. I'm a special agent in a criminal enforcement group, meaning just enforcing the federal criminal laws. Prior to ATF, I was employed by the Cobb County Police Department here in Georgia, approximately 12 and a half years.
With the call detail records that you've received, have you had the occasion to plot cell phone tower information based upon the call detail records that you received?
Absolutely. Overrule, sir. So we had crime analysts that had access to basically other tools, systems, computer programs that would help plot that data as well. So if I had the raw data and I was looking at it initially, I didn't use a computer program. I did it myself. So what I would do is look at, depends on the cell phone provider that we're discussing, but sometimes it come back as an Excel document with different columns and it would give you different information. Sometimes depending on the provider, it would come up not as a Word document, but kind of like a PDF, and it would give you the same data, but stylistically different on the return, depending on which company you got, depending on how easy it was to plot the data. But I would just take on some of them the latitude and longitude that was provided there for that cell tower and put it simply into Google.
The lawyer's going to have a field day on cross-examination with him doing it himself.
And I know we've been using the term plotting.
So that's just taking that data and again putting it like on a map, utilizing Google or utilizing one of those systems like Radius Drawer or one of those computer programs, and then it would just basically place like pin drops, like if you had a cell phone and you just dropped a pin. So the Atlanta police sergeant basically had a piece of paper that he had names on, and he handed that to me. So again, interviewed the people that were involved, looked at the tour buses. A crime scene tech responded out with me. I requested a crime scene tech. I discussed what we had with that crime scene tech. She photographed the scene for me while I was standing there. We were able to walk on. Alvin Lewis gave us permission to walk on his tour bus.
Can't believe we're still talking about the Lil Wayne tour bus shooting.
Crime scene tech or detectives going to take overall photos and then basically move their way in. So overall, medium.
We already looked at all these photos with the other detective. I guarantee we're going to get some cumulative objections from a lawyer here. We look at these exact ones.
It's to show us the damage.
No one cares. We already saw these pictures of this bus, dude.
Any further objections, Mr. Steele? All right, I'm going to overrule your objection, sir.
The judge being a little bitch today, like always.
I learned that there was a ongoing beef or ongoing dispute, basically multiple violent crimes going back and forth between two groups, and that this incident may be associated with those previous incidents.
Was there anyone specifically who could continue to assist you with this investigation?
Investigator Dennis and Gaither both, but primarily I would say Investigator Dennis.
And after leaving this meeting, did you develop a potential suspect in this case?
Yes, we did.
Who was that suspect?
Mr. Jimmy Winfrey.
Were you able to find, where did you go find surveillance video?
So Brady Avenue, we went to the club and then basically walked that whole block, the intersections around there.
2015, even all these businesses around here, no one got any footage. It should almost be mandatory for businesses to have working cameras, I feel like.
No, I didn't see any businesses with surveillance cameras that would assist. No. Depending on what I was doing that day, we would task each other out kind of thing. So I think Investigator Dennis was able to capture some video.
Where did you capture video from? Your Honor, he has talked about his investigation, which comes
I'll
from.
rule the objection.
Judges overruled everything from the defense today.
We called it the Vault, like a recording studio, but it was on Metropolitan Avenue. I don't remember the numbers, but
And did that video assist in your investigation?
yes, depicted vehicles that were possibly involved in this incident, basically kind of meeting up and traveling together in a group.
Video he's talking about was them leaving the studio. Kenneth Copeland led them to that studio to get those videos too. So Kenneth Copeland is a fucking snitch. YSL Woody.
So we learned that he was associated with one of the groups that had an ongoing dispute with the victims, at least Mr. Lil Wayne, Mr. Dwayne Carter. Furthermore,
Mr. Lil Wayne.
had a vehicle or operated a vehicle that generally met the description of one of the vehicles involved in the shooting on the interstate.
Were you ever able to get a phone number for Mr. Winfrey?
Yes, we were.
So they tracked his phone 100%.
For a search warrant for call detail record and historical cell site data.
Same shit that happened to Melly. Melly's phone was tracked around with the car with the dead bodies in it.
The cell site data can provide somewhat geographical location information.
And it's not completely accurate. It's like a radius this on a map, like a mile or two or whatever.
It would help us at least rule him out as a suspect or rule him in as a suspect. So this is a disc that contains the cell phone records. So the records that we're talking about. So this is basically like kind of the subscriber information. It's just some information from Sprint. But yeah, mostly subscriber information and data about the device and the account that the legal process was on.
And after reviewing the record, did you find any information that assisted with your investigation?
Yes.
Before we go on, Madam, I have a good authority we need to take. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take 10 minutes.
Just gotta go jerk off out back, dude.
What information did you find that assisted in your investigation?
Ingoing, outgoing calls and location information as well. Location history.
All right. So let's first talk about the location history. When we talk about the location history, are you referencing plotting the calls?
That's correct.
And did you plot the calls yourself initially?
Yes.
We're just gonna have a field day with that.
And after you plotted the calls, did you give it to your analyst, as you talked about earlier, to plot as well?
Yes.
They gotta double check.
I stand objection.
Sustained an objection, but I couldn't hear it because there's no fucking microphones in this goddamn courtroom for some reason.
Specifically as it relates to these calls, did your analyst plot these specific calls in addition to you?
Yes. That specific time frame just to see if Mr. Winfrey, his cell phone, at least, or the cell phone associated with him, was in the area.
I'm gonna be honest, boys, this detective's testimony is better than Detective Dennis so far. It's more concise and straight to the point. Detective Dennis was terrible last week. You can go watch my old videos from last week. He sucks. Here we go. Miss Hilton's writing it all out.
Good morning, everyone. Ready for the big meeting?
I have to write this project plan.
I just need to reply to 40 emails. Linda? Oh, their date disappeared. Too many emails, messages, docs. That's why I have Grammarly. It's AI that helps me write faster and better everywhere. IT just cleared it for the whole company.
I was lost in the dark.
Grammarly, for business. Easier said, done.
Kayak. Kayak. Why do people use Kayak to compare hundreds of travel sites at once? I don't get it. I like to do things myself. Even if I don't get a great deal, I still feel connected to it. What kind of connection would I have with the salmon if I bought it at the supermarket? We are connected.
Kayak. Search one and done.
All out.
138. So the cell tower was in the area of Metropolitan Avenue, the Vault Studio, generally.
Is he calling multiple phone numbers in this time frame or just one specific number?
I'd have to look, ma'am.
So their phones are tracked at their studio between 12:30 and 1:30 in the morning. And then now PEWEE Roscoe's phone is tracked.
So he's calling multiple numbers, but I'd say half are that same 1990 phone number that we're dealing with, and there's looks like some other phone numbers mixed in as well.
PEWEE's already convicted of the shooting. The real question is, did Young Thug instruct him to do this? We're gonna see if they prove that or not. If this is in furtherance of YSL to take out Lil Wayne.
So the cell tower is located at 285 in Atlanta Road. So just the other one was Atlanta Road near 285. This one is a little bit more towards the intersection.
They got this dumbass tracked from the studio to the club, then followed the bus onto the highway.
It's going to be that same 1990. So the 404-583 1990.
Who's this 1990 number? I want to know. I would imagine they're going to put names to all these numbers.
So the cell tower for that call is the Mandarin Oriental Hotel.
Wait, they got PEWEE Roscoe tracked to the hotel where Lil Wayne went after the bus was shot up. So now she's writing out all the numbers he contacted in this whole time frame. I do kind of agree with Brian Steele that this guy isn't really qualified to go into depth about the call detail records. He can talk about it since he's the one that plotted them and he had someone double check it too, but I still feel like they need an expert up there. That, like how the Melly trial, they had a real expert for call detail records. records, an FBI agent.
Cell phone in your name, you have property in your name, you register, whatever. They're pulling data from multiple sources. They're kind of aggregating it in one location. So just doing a search through that can give you potential leads. Searching police databases, such as like our records management systems, whether it's Cobb's or Given It to Atlanta, that can provide us with people who've listed that phone number in an accident report or incident report. Doing a simple Google search on a phone number can sometimes yield who the owner of the phone is, or search warrant on the phone numbers to target.
And did you get search warrants for any of these phone numbers listed on the board?
For some of the phone numbers, not all the phone numbers. I identified it as an attorney's phone number.
Called an attorney that night? Was bro panicking? Like, bro, I just shot this fucking bus.
Now, for the other numbers, did you get search warrants for all the other numbers?
I don't know for all of those. I did subpoenas for some, and I know I did subpoenas and search warrants for others. It's the subscriber information, like the account name, the account holder, like who's going to be the registered user. Sometimes there's a contact phone number or email address associated with that person. So the first name listed is YSL Enterprises.
And did it have a name associated with the YSL Enterprises?
There was a contact name listed, yes.
Who was the contact name?
Amina Diop, A-M-I-N-A, Diop, D-I-O-P.
I think that's Thug's, like, one of Thug's managers or something.
The phone number belonged to Jimmy Winfrey contacting the night for the morning of the shooting.
Correct. One of the records, we did recover a name that was associated with it.
And what was that name?
Brian Williams.
And in your investigation, did you learn about Brian Williams?
Yes.
Did Brian Williams have a nickname?
He did.
What was that?
Birdman.
That makes contact Jimmy Winfrey phone number at 317 to 326 on April 26, 2015.
That's correct. After the time of the shooting at 317, that number calls Jimmy Winfrey's phone number.
Birdman called him right after the shooting. That's suspect on Birdman's side.
So 911 call comes at 314. Is there also a call at 314 to that YSL phone number?
That is correct.
Do you know who's actually holding the phone here?
No. We have information who the subscriber is provided from the cell phone provider, and then we also have whatever other information, circumstantial or direct, from the investigation.
And I guess it's safe to say, did you listen to Jimmy Winfrey's phone calls while he was in custody?
I did.
And in listening to his phone calls, did Jimmy Winfrey ever confirm with anyone that he actually spoke with Birdman?
Yes, he does.
So it looks like they're trying to admit the jail calls that PEWEE ROSCOE did to, apparently he was on the phone with Birdman at one point. He probably called some lawyers or some YSL people or something. So let's see.
Not know where certification came from. He got another individual, specifically former.
But Brian Steele's been objecting, saying certification he got from someone else, so apparently he got it from Gaither, I think. Judge overrules Steele's objection, like always, all day today.
AT&T, YSL Enterprises. Diving into first Jimmy Winfrey's phone records, I then dove into the 1990 because that was the most frequent phone call made. And then from going from the 1990, looking at the phone numbers that was calling, that's how it led me to these phone numbers.
Who did you secure arrest warrant with?
Jimmy Winfrey. So at the time I secured the arrest warrant, we learned that Jimmy Winfrey was out of state in Miami, Florida. I got the arrest warrant, and 30 minutes later, I proceeded to the magistrate court of Cobb County to request a sealing order to have it sealed, so the arrest warrant wouldn't be made public.
Two things I just want to bring to the court's attention, just to see if there's any objections so we can deal with it. The first thing is a video. It's a social media video that Detective Raissi pulled. This video was provided back on April 12 as a part of the pool of evidence that we intended to introduce during this case. A video of Mr. Winfrey at the gun range shooting what appears to be an AR assault rifle. We have not heard any objections to that video, but I wanted to bring to the court's attention that we do plan on getting into that video.
They don't need to show that. He's already been convicted of the shooting.
It has third-party commentary, so we've redacted the third-party commentary and solely focused on Mr. Winfrey at the shooting range. So that's the first item that I want to bring to the court's attention.
Okay, what's the relevancy of Mr. Winfrey's range video?
Because he's the one to allegedly have shot up this bus in this case. And so it shows him at the range shooting a weapon that we believe to be what was used in this instance. As the testimony or the evidence provided that Detective Finney saw this type of weapon inside of his vehicle prior to the shooting. You can hear someone that we believe to be Mr. Williams encouraging Mr. Winfrey to shoot the weapon at the range. And so, one, it would show association. Two, it would show that he knew how to shoot and fire that weapon. And three, it was a type of weapon that he was seen with on the night of.
This is a little bit of a reach. Like, it could be any weapon. It could just look similar. She said the cop saw the exact weapon. Like, no, bitch. You don't know the exact weapon. It could just be a similar weapon. All these Atlanta motherfuckers are the same. How do they know it's Thug in the background?
You know, he pled guilty to this incident. I don't know why we need a picture of him at a shooting range to prove that he can fire a weapon. That's one. Two, my knowledge of your trial, I never heard anyone make an allegation he could fire a weapon. I don't know how that's relevant to our trial, your trial, but nothing. It's not relevant, 403, it's a waste of time.
This objecting, not relevant, waste of time, 403 violation. PEWEE ROSCOE with the gun.
Go rip. Let it rip.
Oh wait, that's Thug. That's definitely Thug's voice. He said let it rip, I think. This is definitely prejudicial. Like what?
And we believe that the individual says go rap it, let it rip, is Mr. Williams, Your Honor.
Okay, if I understand correctly, you don't know when it was made.
We know that the video was received.
You know when it was posted, motherfucker. They don't know shit when these videos are made.
After Mr. Winfrey was in custody.
The question is, when was the video made? Do you know when the video was made? Don't guess.
No,
Okay,
we do not know when the video was made. We know it was made prior to his arrest. Not probative, but it has to be substantially more prejudicial, Your Honor. Him shooting the gun is not substantially more prejudicial than probative in this case. Again, when the thought and theory is that one, Mr. Williams was in Baton Rouge when this occurred. I imagine that the defense is going to be that Mr. Williams had nothing to do with any of this. The state still has to prove this act and the association of all these individuals as a part of the enterprise. This is another piece of evidence. Again, we know it's prior to Winfrey being arrested. When I look at the video, when he was arrested, he had similarly styled dreads. See this evidence and then make a determination at that point.
I don't think so. Not what I've heard so far. I think the defense's argument about a 403 problem is the court's concern.
The judge is in favor of the defense for once. The 403.
Not saying that it may not be relevant for other purposes. From what I've heard so far, I would probably decline to admit it at this point. Not saying I wouldn't at some point, but not at this point.
It is, of course, concerned the date of when the video was created.
I have a couple concerns about it. We don't know the date. It's marginally relevant, and you've got some 403 problems.
Certainly the motion for severance, yes.
Okay, all right, okay.
And a couple of other things. Motion for severance, number one.
So he wants to get his client in the yellow shirt to the left of him off this trial because I don't think his client's been brought up really at all.
The fact that it's admissible as a statement of a party opponent means that it is just admissible against that person, not everybody else and not Mr. Nichols.
But what if it's also admissible since it's a co-conspiracy, since they're charged in count one?
That's great. Remember at the beginning of this trial, the state was supposed to give us everything they were going to admit as an 801D2E statement. They gave us 3. This isn't one of them, and I would object to this being admitted as a co-conspirator statement under 801D2E. I do not think it is in furtherance of any conspiracy, number one, and we weren't provided with this. We didn't litigate it before. The jury doesn't know that it's being admitted against Mr. Winfrey because it's his statement as a party opponent, even though he is not here, or that it's just being admitted, if it is being admitted over objection, against Mr. Williams.
This trial's a shit show. This goddamn conspiracy bullshit, dude. What a disaster.
If it were the move to admit my client's Instagram records or anything else, I wouldn't ask them to be specific about what we're admitting as opposed to just admitting the entire record.
Dude, Instagram records could be hundreds of thousands of pages, so I see his issue here that he wants to narrow it down. I think Melly's Instagram records were 400,000 pages.
Or are you looking to do kind of what you similarly did here, which is just, the relevant portions?
Yeah.
My biggest concern when I was thinking of getting Botox Cosmetic was
losing my expression. I wanted to stay Javi.
I think that's the part that's missing here, Your Honor. When we introduce the entire record, we have to introduce the entire record and say what excerpts we come from. What excerpts came from those records. Mr. Shar says his concern is we'll just be able to get up and talk about parts of the record. But if the court hasn't admitted that portion,
I haven't admitted that portion.
Or if we haven't talked about it within the confines of the evidence coming out, then that can't be brought up in closing or some other portion. Now, as it relates to Jimmy Winfrey, the calls that you received, were they solely from his pen, or did you search from using phone numbers and get other calls that were not on his pen?
I did both.
This first call is PEWEE Roscoe and his aunt.
Where the car is, they want it moved. Well, I talked to Richard, but Richard don't know who got the key.
No, the key in Milwaukee. You can go in my room and get the extra key. But this is what I want you to do. Call the man from the dealership, Taylor, right? Yeah, and tell Richard, take the car. Yeah, I want that Taylor, and that for my summer tires on it.
No, you don't want to do nothing else to that car because Bank of America is looking for it.
For what?
Do you forget our dad?
Oh, yeah, okay. So what, we need to turn the car in?
We told you, and we definitely need to turn it in now.
All right, you want to wait till I get out?
Well, I'll see what I'll go back down and look for the key, so Richard.
That great Bank of America thing.
You don't need to be saying too much shit because they recording everything you say.
I know there ain't nothing wrong with me. I was just asking.
Okay.
In that car, you right by what you're saying, but you like I'm doing something different. I'm not going on.
Okay, well, whatever. I'm just trying to tell you they record everything you say.
I know that.
His own aunt telling him not to talk on the jail calls, but he ends up talking at some point. So he got a Bank of America car loan. He's trying to hide it so it doesn't get repoed.
The discussion of the vehicle that we believed was involved in the incident at hand.
Yeah, I can pull my car from renting house to the house. I'll take it to my brother's house.
Something to the effect of wanting to move the car to the auntie's address.
And why was that important to you?
Well, I mean, if I was trying to recover the vehicle, I need to know where it's at to be recovered. So that's giving me a potential address to try to go recover evidence.
Yeah, it's in the garage. They brought it over on a tow truck.
They're now stating that the vehicle is in auntie's garage at her address.
Look, young nigga, you got a picture with you. Oh, man, you think like the Pope in here, man. Look, everybody got stars right here.
He said everyone got stars, like a 5-point star tattoo, like saying they're a blood gang member.
See, folks flying out. Everybody's flying, bro. Hey, listen, man, everything is flying out, boy. Everything.
There's something about YSL and a star, and someone has a picture with Yak or something, like a kid in there. It's really hard to understand. I'd say 80% of this shit.
Of course, referencing the names, referencing multiple people with stars, 5-point stars, saying everyone in the jail, Cobb County, is slime, and then someone having a YSL tattoo on their back.
So it's showing pictures of the car they found in PEWEE Roscoe's aunt's garage.
Yeah, ain't doing no more wrong story like Andre, you dig what I'm saying? Hold it down from the way I know you got to turn it. I don't call everybody, they popping the big, you know, took over the motherfucker.
Okay, I haven't been able to understand Jeffrey once, really. I understand 90% of this shit, but they're just trying to show connection with PEWEE and Thug.
Spinning like a ceiling fan everywhere.
Spinning like a ceiling fan everywhere.
We were they be folks there. Shit. I said, let me call my brother.
Yes, it was back and forth that night leading into this.
So is that Thug's number or is his sister's number? Because I think his sister answered it, so that's a little confusing.
In talking about the Free Roscoe campaign, through the course of your investigation, did you ever find an individual who launched the Free Roscoe campaign?
I did.
Okay. Who was that individual?
Jeffrey Williams. At the 1990 phone number, I believe it's going to be one of Jeffrey Williams' relatives, female relatives, his sister. The last statement he said kind of sums it up. He needs paperwork to make it look legitimate and not, in his words, street stuff. So he was trying to legitimize his association with YSL.
Yeah, that's pretty damning for this motherfucker, Jimmy Winfrey. Like, he's a dumbass.
You know what gang is targeting affiliated with?
Yes. YSL.
Mr. Steele has an issue. Here we go. The jury's not in the room anymore.
I don't understand. From my perspective, Mr. Williams is not having a fair trial. I cannot cross-examine Mr. Winfrey. This witness is telling us what he means by having things not look like street items.
Shit, I remember.
Okay.
Okay, so.
I don't understand how any of this is coming in. Amina Diab is not a witness that the state is calling at all. I don't have a burden, you keep telling me, which I know the law, but you keep telling me that, but it feels like I have a burden. I have to clean all this mess up.
If you choose to do so, sir. And that's your characterization of it, so.
The indictment, quote-unquote, redacted, is a farce. This thing has, I don't know if you looked at your copy, there's blanks here that identify Jeffrey Williams. I mean, you'd have to be a deceased person not to realize that the indictment is charging Jeffrey Williams in it. And the state just goes on like, this is no big deal. You know, I have a big deal. This entire case should have witnesses who are competent to be cross-examined, and they don't. I, again, object. This gentleman is testifying. He has no basis in saying what Jimmy Winfrey meant or didn't mean. The recording, because of your ruling, speaks for itself. He shouldn't be able to interpret it. And it was never even done. What the jurors won't know is that Amina Diab didn't give any paperwork at all. In fact, what they don't know is that Jeffrey Williams, the state won't probably play it, a recording with Jeffrey Williams where this detective asked Jeffrey Williams, does Jimmy Winfrey work for you as a road manager? And Mr. Williams laughs and said, are you ridiculous? I have real legitimate people. So all of this is the state of Georgia getting out a theory that is not based in fact and it should not come into this courtroom. This entire, since the state has been allowed to say, does this help the investigation? This case has gone south. Maybe it was south already, but it has gone so south, I can't do anything. Those are all my objections. I'm moving for a mistrial. I have no idea why this gentleman got to say Amina Diab works on the legitimate side of the business. We're presumed innocent. He has no right to say that. And then this indictment is all hearsay under the Brown case, State versus Brown, which the Honorable Court agreed with, yet the state's using the indictment as a weapon. They're saying it says it in the indictment. Mr. Winfrey played Alfred. He's not testifying. You let it in as a statement against his penal interest. Well, that's only against him. He's not on trial. It can't be a co-conspirator statement because it is a statement that does not further any supposed conspiracy because it spills the beans. So,
bro, Brian Steele is such a good lawyer. He's moving for a mistrial, but it's not gonna.
I'm respectfully asking the court to strike all of this testimony that goes into anything anyone else said and the investigation, and let's wipe this slate clean. And please, I just want to go forward and have people to cross-examine.
This is the second time you've made the same argument, sir. I understand it, and it's your right to do so. All right. Unless you have anything else, Mr. Sharp?
Jimmy Winfrey's plea coming in as evidence against the rest of us when he is not taking a stand. But I'm going to go one further than Mr. Steele.
Their main complaint is that Jimmy Winfrey, they're not going to be able to cross-examine him, and they're bringing up Jimmy Winfrey.
Because in their line of questioning, they are asking about the indictment that Jimmy Winfrey pled to. And the jurors are following what they're talking about. They're asking about the indictment, their indictment, the plea. And then they say, and what gang was involved? And then the investigator's going to say YSL, when we can all look at this indictment, which shouldn't be coming in evidence, in my estimation. But if we're going to let it in over our objection, at least let's be honest about what it says. It doesn't say YSL. He pled to the count.
The preamble say YSL?
He pled to...
Does the preamble say YSL?
Preamble?
Does the preamble... Answer my question, please.
Sure, the preamble does, but
okay, all right. So you have to read. Okay, you have to read the preamble in conjunction with the counts. It's just like it's similarly situated to the preamble that you have in this indictment.
But he pled to specific counts, Your Honor.
Okay, but that doesn't mean that the factual predicate of the preamble doesn't apply, right?
Well, I suggest.
Does it apply or not?
I disagree with you completely.
Does it apply or not?
No, it doesn't.
Okay,
it does not. He pled to specific counts.
Okay, all right. Your second argument as to this as well. Okay, anything else? Ms. Holden.
Judge is just like, all right, y'all have already argued this. I don't give a shit. Judge doesn't give a fuck about this, dude. This is going to be one of the easiest appeals ever. And that's pretty much it for day 75. Complete shit show towards the end there. Hit subscribe. Love you guys. Peace out.
Yeah, that was pretty long, but I ain't gonna lie. It just seemed like that man ain't getting no fair trial. Like, they not supposed to call somebody on to analyze what he said in a phone call. They just supposed to play the phone call and talk about it. That's it. You can't call like it ain't no he ain't no specialist in analyzing people's words. Like, that's crazy. Like, so I believe Thug gonna get a mistrial, or they gonna have to do something, because this crazy. This is crazy.